Underboss's hideout. Entrance must be here somewhere.
I always thought it was strange that a powerful and connected criminal like Underboss would base his operations in the sewer. But considering how long it took to locate his hideout back in the day, I guess it worked for him. That said, Underboss coming back here now seems too obvious. But it's the best lead we have.
More than lead. Gimmick was telling truth before his fall. Could see it in his eyes, hear it in his voice. Underboss escapes prison, and now somebody is delivering unknown materials to his hideout.
Alright, welcome to my favorite level in Watchmen. How often do you get to say that? My favorite level is the sewer level. How often do you, the viewer at home, get to say that about your favorite JRPG / beat 'em up? The reason this level is my favorite is because in addition to having the most threatening enemies in the game, it also has what I consider to be the actual final boss battle, because the final boss battle in the game itself is not so good. So the fat enemies are all gone, no more of those, and instead we have highly trained mercenaries to contend with. These mercenaries attack faster than any other characters in the game, and we will be fighting more of them at once than any other characters in the game. So that makes this level the hardest, and it also means that finally my reaction time for counterattacks can swing into full effect, and I can stop blocking early and getting my ass wrecked. Now, unlike the last level where you fight a seemingly endless number of gangsters at the docks, in this level there's a reason there are mercenaries in the sewers, and it makes sense when you have all the information that the story wants to give you. But it takes a bit, so just be patient with the fact that there are mercenaries in the sewers. There's a reason. Also be patient with the fact that Nolan North's voice frequently comes out of these men. I understand it may seem weird at first, but you have to realize Nolan North plays a surprising amount of beat 'em up bad guys in random video games, so you're just gonna have to get used to it. But yeah, if there were a level I was going to replay by itself, it would be this one. This is the one where my reaction to counterattack timing is the best, because the enemies attack the fastest in this level. It's a level where the enemies are the most threatening, and like I said, it's the level where I consider the game to have its actual final boss battle more than the final boss battle at the end of the game, which is not so good, I think. Also, it's a really nice looking sewer with one particular area that looks so gorgeous that it's a little bizarre. There's one area of this sewer, and I'll mention it when we get to it, that was structured specifically to look like a set piece, and it's so weird that it's in a sewer. I mean, everybody knows sewers don't actually look like this, but the set piece I'm referring to takes it way beyond this. But yes, the most satisfying level in the game, most enemies attacking at once, most threatening enemies. There's nothing I don't like about this level, really. This is even the level where when the characters split up, they go the most different paths. In most levels, the paths they go are not that distinctive. But in this one, Rorschach and Night Owl go very different pathways. We're still not replaying the level as Rorschach, because Rorschach's pathway is boring, but, you know, they tried. Look at how absurdly fucking ornate this sewer gate is. Jesus Christ. Someone's really proud of this sewer gate. It is so fancy. Yeah, come on, Night Owl, pump A to lift. Get that workout in there. Sure as hell's gotta be a workout with the way this thing looks. Jesus. Ah, to be young. Man, this sewer's fucked up. Why would that open that? Why does this open this? You'll never know. At least it's not the Lost Odyssey sewers. How many people have made that joke, do you think? How popular was Lost Odyssey? Do enough people know about Lost Odyssey's sewer puzzles for that joke to connect properly? Excuse me, Nolan North. I'm trying to talk about my references to Xbox 360 JRPGs back when Microsoft was trying to get Japanese people to buy the console by having a lot of exclusive JRPGs on it. JRPGs that I would like to play, but I can't. I'm sorry, I couldn't until recently because I didn't want an Xbox 360. So, you know, as much as I wanted to play Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey when they came out, that wasn't an option because I was playing a console with more games on it. More Japanese games specifically, which are the kind that I play. This game's very Japanese. You can tell because that man said, "I'm gonna fuck you up," which is a traditional Japanese greeting. And that man, he just said, "You are one dead motherfucker," which I believe is a traditional Japanese goodbye. It's nice that they tried to integrate so much Japanese culture into their Western game. I don't think Rorschach would appreciate it, though. I think Rorschach would demand that these Japanese mercenaries instead learn proper English and familiarize themselves with our customs. This room is really fun, by the way. I love this room. It's the closest thing the game gets to getting you actually ambushed. Also, this room looks awesome. I cannot imagine for the fucking life of me what purpose this room serves. But it looks awesome, right? The night vision is necessary in the sections where you have night vision, so you can't manually turn it on or anything. And I mean it's mandatory in the sense that even if you could turn it off, you wouldn't be able to see shit. So at least there's a reason he turns it on. Over here to the left is an upgrade for Night Owl's charge. And, you know, I'm not going to make excuses. I always forget those collectibles are there. Night Owl and Rorschach's collectibles, never on my mind. Never. It's just not something I think about. We are nearing that set piece I was referring to, after we hop down here and help Rorschach with any enemies he has accumulated in the last little bit. There's a lot of splitting up from Rorschach in this level. That helps the level feel more distinctive, and it helps that it's also, yep, see, Rorschach has a lot of guys on his ass, as always. It helps that this level also is shorter than the previous one. It's so weird that they put so many attempts at variety in the sewer level in particular. I guess the level after this one probably has the most attempts at variety in it. So up ahead is this absurdly gorgeous area that I mean, maybe someone more familiar with city planning can tell me what the fuck this place is supposed to be. Because it looks like a place out of Uncharted for some reason. And I don't understand. I'm not a genius, alright? There are some things that I'm knowledgeable about, mainly video games, and there are some things I'm not knowledgeable about, and sewers is not one of those things, so maybe there's a legitimate reason for all these gorgeous columns with the beams of light shining down to be here. Just because I can't think of it doesn't mean there isn't a reason, but if anyone has any idea what this place is supposed to be, I really want to know, because wow. And can I see one of these for myself in person? Like, is there somewhere I can go to find one of these? Do they accept visitors? It's a very serious question. I want to know.
Dregs of society can't be reasoned with.
Now, Rorschach, I understand that your canned response to certain enemy waves, but I don't think these are dregs of society. Anyway, here's part 1 of 2 of what I consider to be the actual final boss of Watchmen. This giant area fucking full of enemies that will utterly destroy you if you're not paying attention. Unlike most final bosses, this one comes in 2 waves, and rather than consisting of a single enemy or a few strong enemies, it consists of just a whole fuck ton of dudes. Just a bunch of them, all at once. This is far and away the hardest encounter in the game, and if you can make it through this encounter with no problem, then you're fine. Like, you understand the game perfectly, you understand the game design perfectly, there's no problems. This is definitely the hardest thing in the game aside from the final boss, which doesn't count because it's bad. But we'll get to that when we get to that. I remember when I was playing with my brother and he was like, wait, why is this your favorite level? And then we got to this area and he's like, oh, it's because there's all these dudes to fight at once, right? And I mean, yeah, pretty much. Definitely as hard as the game gets, for sure, is this encounter. Outside of the final boss that the game thinks is the final boss, which I don't consider the final boss because it's bad, but is technically the final boss by all sensible standards, even though I wish it wasn't. But yes, this is immensely satisfying. This particular encounter, amazingly, wonderfully satisfying. All the hit sounds, all the countering, all the people attacking you so fast, all the knives. There's lots of knives, lots of people with knives. I don't know if I ever even explicitly mentioned that Night Owl has a smoke grenade that briefly stuns enemies. You've seen me use it dozens of times at this point, I'm sure. This little area of effect grenade he does. But I don't know if I ever explicitly mentioned it. Enemies without weapons are so much weaker than enemies with weapons, it's ridiculous. So after you disarm every one of their knives, this becomes a lot less dangerous. I think Rorschach also dies much faster, though. Time to die, mofucky, that man said. Is that a thing people said back in the 70s? Time to die, mofucky? My favorite thing about these enemies from a superficial standpoint is how often they scream for help. Like, this is ridiculous that these two men are destroying us so badly. Please, for the love of God, help me. It's great. Anyway, right after this, Night Owl and Rorschach split up again, and they don't meet up until the very, very end of the level. And there's very little in the way of enemies between then and there. So, we're just going to skip to the end of the level. If that's alright with you. If it's not, that's too bad, because we're doing it anyway, sorry.
I've been thinking, is it possible that Underboss didn't actually hire these mercenaries? I mean, could he be working with someone else?
Seems possible. Breakout was coordinated. Unknown hardware being delivered to former hideout. Mercenary guards in place hours after his escape. Partner makes sense, but something still seems wrong.
I agree. I have a feeling there's more here than meets the eye. Something's not right here. How did a slug like Underboss hire an army of mercenaries while in stir? Hey, somebody's in there. Jesus Christ. He's alive.
Not for long.
Who is he?
Mark Felt, FBI's missing associate director.
It's okay, Mr. Felt. We're gonna take care of you.
Forget about me. He made me tell him. Tell where I'm supposed to meet them.
Meet who?
Those reporters. Woodward and Bernstein. He's going to kill them.
Where? When?
Construction site. 39th and Charlton. 3 a.m. He's crazy. You've gotta stop him before...
He's gone.
Disturbing. Why would Associate Director of FBI meet secretly with those two agitators? What info did he plan to give them?
And why would Underboss kill to get it?
Maybe he doesn't want info, just revenge.
You're right. They wrote that series of articles that helped convict him back. Freeze! Move and you die!
We've been set up.
And 3 a.m. is only minutes away.
Only one thing we can do.
Colonel? Kick-Ass here. All quiet in the subway except for stopping and mugging.
Excellent, Kick-Ass. Return to headquarters. Hey, what's that? What? Watch out! Watch out! Hit the dirt!
Colonel? What's going on, Colonel?
Under attack! We need help!
Colonel! Colonel!
So do you remember that huge fucking subway labyrinth? Well, we're back in it because, you know, budget. And we have to make our way to Justice Forever headquarters because obviously the Colonel and Justice Forever are under attack right now. That's about it.
Hey, that's Kick-Ass! What's the hurry, buddy?
Who the hell are you?
The motherfucker sends his regards!
Give me his regards in person if you got the balls.
So I've already made fun of the fact that most people probably would give up on the game at this point. You know, whenever it stops being enjoyable to them, they would probably just stop. But assuming that you have some sort of compulsion to complete a game, I'd like to point out that now may be the point where you realize you can run past almost all of the enemies. The game, it kind of completely forgot to gate the player's progress, so you can completely avoid most enemy encounters, assuming you don't get hit while you're trying to escape. Now, initially, I thought for sure this would be impossible because there are a lot of ladders you need to climb, and fuse boxes you need to disarm, and gates you need to climb over. But you can still do that while there are enemies on your ass most of the time, because they did not gate the player's progress like most beat-em-ups would. So you can disarm the fuse box, and the bad guys will just stand around and watch you do it without hitting you. They won't interrupt you. Same for if you try to climb a ladder, and you can climb over any gate post without the bad guys stopping you as well. So, I mean, there are a few exceptions where they suddenly spontaneously realized, oh hey, maybe we should stop the player from running past every enemy. But for the most part, you can just run past everyone in this game. It's a little obscene. Now, it really depends on what kind of game it is, but as far as I'm concerned, if your game is meant to be challenging and the enemies are meant to be a threat, the player being able to run past them really is not okay. Maybe that's some kind of hot take. I like to think I'm pretty lenient with game design. But I think if you're making a beat-em-up and the enemies are supposed to be challenges that need to be overcome, right? Because that's what this game is. It's a series of challenges, and the challenges are fighting men. And you could just run past the challenges. I don't think that's so good. I think that may be bad. And you can do this at roughly any point in the game. There are, again, a few situations where the game suddenly remembers, oh hey, you can and should gate the player's progress so they don't run past everyone. But for the most part, you can just run past everyone, like this.
You're gonna be sorry, you assholes!
It's kind of like they just forgot that, you know, in beat-em-ups, you can't move on until you fight people. Because usually, you know, if you've played a beat-em-up before, that's how they work, is you fight people and then you move on. You don't move on without fighting them. I feel like maybe Freedom Factory forgot, that's the developer. I don't think I've mentioned their name yet. But I feel like Freedom Factory maybe forgot.
Colonel! How are you guys?
We're holding out for now, but I don't know how much longer we can fight them off. Where are you?
Just get out of the subway.
Good. Come to headquarters as fast as you can. We're under siege.
I'll be there in a sec.
The sad thing about this is, like, if you forget to gate the player's progress during a beat-em-up that's meant to be challenging, it doesn't matter how well you designed the actual combat, because they can just run past the challenges, just opt out of them. And I mean, there are obvious exceptions to this, like if a game is built around being satisfying rather than being challenging. Like, take the Dynasty Warriors games, for example. The point of the Dynasty Warriors games is not to be challenging, it's to be satisfying, and to that end, the player is allowed to play the game however they like. Muso games, Dynasty Warriors games, do not really like to limit the player too much. On average, at least. This is one of the few situations where the game remembers to gauge your progress. One of the few times you actually have to fight everyone before you leave. But yeah, on average, Muso games and Dynasty Warriors games, they don't gate the player's progress too much, because they want you to be able to play the game the way you want to play it. There are exceptions to this, as with many of Koei's licensed Muso games, the structure is entirely different. so it really depends on which one you're picking up. But in general, if a game is based around satisfaction and not challenge, then forcing the player to fight every enemy, not a necessity. But when your game is comprised entirely of small challenges, and there's nothing challenging about the game except for these specific challenges where you hit people, allowing the player to run past 90%, and I don't believe that's an exaggerated statistic, of the challenges is a little absurd. I mean, I've played Devil Kings on this channel, and I went out of my way to 100% each map, destroying every single enemy unit. Not at all necessary. You can just run straight to the boss if you want, past almost every enemy. But you're not doing anything by doing that, because fighting the normal enemies isn't meant to be an amazing challenge to overcome, or any such thing. It's just something you can do for satisfaction. In this game, you're meant to overcome challenges. And somebody fucked up. Thankfully, this very rarely happens in games I actually care about a lot, and if it does happen, that's not an accurate statement, because I care about every video game I play on this channel, including Kick-Ass 2. What I mean to say is this rarely happens with video games I think are good or enjoy. And when it does happen in video games I think are good or enjoy, usually it's either incredibly minimal, or the enemies are competent enough that even though you could run past them, you're in severe danger of getting killed, more danger than you would be if you just fought them. I believe in Watchmen there are a few areas where you can technically run past the enemies, for example, but the enemies are just as fast as you, and they become faster when you stand still to pull levers and switches and whatnot, so they will catch up with you and hit you in the ass. And they don't stop following you either, you accumulate them. So, running past enemies in Watchmen is not a valid strategy by any means. Normally it gates the player's progress heavily, Watchmen does I mean. But even when Watchmen doesn't gate the player's progress, the enemies are competent enough that, you know, you can't escape them easily. You'd have to go out of your way to do that. Well, as you can see in this game, I'm not having to go out of my way to escape the enemies at all. I'm just fucking walking past them. Like they're not even there. Most times, anyway. And when you get tired of this game after your first 40-minute level, you know, you ask yourself, if I'm gonna keep going, is there a way I can make this less obnoxious? And the answer is, yeah, you can just run past everyone. Like that. Fuck those guys back there. Just walked right past them. Still think the game looks nice, though. Still think it looks good, even when it's reusing environmental assets like it is right here. Don't worry, we'll see a more unique environment next time. So, we have to defeat these guys as well, because defeating these guys triggers the cutscene. Again, very few examples where you actually need to fight the enemies, and quite a few of them are in this level, even. By quite a few, I think there's been 2, maybe. But anyway, you try and find ways to make it easier on yourself, and it becomes a question of, do I want to run past the enemies with a single A button press so I can dodge roll, or do I want to spend 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes wailing on these guys with very weird slow combos until they fall over? It's up to you which you prefer. I'd personally prefer the one where I run past the enemies. Because the design, there's not enough design. I'm sorry, Kick-Ass, it's not like your fighting is horrible, it's just there's not enough.
Jesus! What kind of Dolph Lundgren, Bridget Nielsen hybrid are you, for Christ's sake?
I am Mother Russia.
Be really careful with her, Kick-Ass. That woman is very dangerous.
Mother Russia? Shouldn't you call yourself Soviet Mother or something like that? I mean, you're wearing the sickle and hammer on your...
Very funny. I'm going to teach you sickle and hammer for real, boy. You have no chance against me, scum. I'm going to crush you, boy.
Why don't we even things up a bit, buddy?
Not bad for an amateur. You know what? I'd like to see what you turds can do against heavy artillery.
Watch out!
No! Fucking Russian whore!
Well, Mother Russia. Seems we've killed Colonel Stars and Stripes. What a shitty name, by the way. It's like a copy of Captain America by Rob Liefeld.
Chris Amico, you motherfucker!
The motherfucker in the flesh, Dave. You'll soon reunite with that prick Colonel, because I'm gonna wipe out all of you massive freaks and kids. New York will tremble when it hears my name. The police? What a shame. We'll just have to leave this for another occasion, won't we? See you around, moron.
Though I couldn't help feeling responsible, the least I could do was to give Colonel Stars and Stripes the send-off he deserved.
I'm sorry, Dave. I should have been there, but...
I know. You promised Marcus. I understand.
Dave! Doug!
Shit! What are we gonna do?
Damn it, you're supposed to be a fucking superhero. Act like a superhero.
Fuck yeah!